For the Sunset Surf Sesh watercolor tutorial, we'll use these materials. Some watercolor paper, I used 9 by 12 inches, any will do. A few paint brushes, I used a round 10, round 8, and a fine point rigger 1. And then some watercolors, Indigo, Payne's Gray, Cadmium Yellow Pale Hue, Brilliant Red, Cadmium Orange Hue, and White. The details are in the links below. Also some masking tape, some water, a palette for mixing, and some paper towels. So we're going to start off by taking each of our colors and putting a little bit in each of the sections of the watercolor palette. Use some masking tape to secure your paper on a hard surface. I just taped mine right to the table. Next, you're going to take a ruler or a straight edge and with a pencil lightly draw a line about 1/3 of the way up the paper. This is going to be the horizon. Now, using the finished watercolor reference on your right, begin to sketch out the surfer's silhouette and the surfboard. This is probably the most detailed part of the tutorial, and so you want to make sure you spend some time erasing and getting this right. Look at the proportions of the head to the body. The head starts just below the horizon, and the bottom of the surfer, where the surfboard is about halfway down the water. And so spend some time here, erase, and when you're happy you can move on. When you're finished with your sketch, we are going to begin painting the sky. Take your largest round brush, I used a size 10, and apply a clean water wash to the sky portion only. Take some Cadmium Yellow Pale Hue and mix it in the center of your palette. I'm just going to call this yellow because that is the longest color name ever. And add some white in with the yellow to create a pale yellow. Apply this yellow in horizontal strokes, leaving an area of white on the left side of the horizon. This will be where the sun is setting. If you accidentally paint over this area, don't worry, just take a clean brush, wet the paper if needed to pick the color up. Next, mix in some Cadmium Orange Hue, aka orange, to some of your yellow mixture and begin to create a gradient around the outer edge of the pale yellow. Use horizontal brush strokes again, moving back and forth between the colors to create a smooth transition. Next, you're going to add more orange to the mixture and create an even darker band. And lastly, add a very little of red to the mixture to create the darkest sky color towards the top and a bit on the left side of the sky. Spend some time blending sharp lines in with a clean, wet brush. With some leftover colors, you can fill some spots in if you want to. Just try not to overwork it and make sure the gradient is transitioning smoothly from light to dark. Add more red to create a dark orange color, and starting on the left of the horizon, create a small band to represent land off in the distance. If you want, you can use some of this dark orange color to add a bit more contrast to the sky gradient at the top. You can begin to paint the water when the sky is dry. This is important so that color doesn't bleed into the sky. Clean your palette and change out your water. Create a pale yellow color by mixing mostly white with a little yellow. You won't need much, so only mix a little paint. With a wet water wash on the water without wetting the surfer's silhouette, apply the pale yellow color on the top portion of the water, stopping to about where the surfboard would sit. Next, dilute some indigo blue on a clean part of the palette, using big horizontal streaks with indigo blue at the bottom. Mix some of this blue with the yellow and create a few streaks of green under the surfer. Next, create an orange yellow and an orange red, and create more streaks towards the midsection of the water, mostly above the indigo blue. Create a purple color too by mixing red and indigo blue, and use this color to fill in the gradient moving up from the blue. Keep the right top portion of the water near the horizon light and yellow. It's okay to have a variation of colors, it'll make the painting more interesting. In general, the water goes from blues to reds to orange and then to yellow as you move up. Also, horizontal strokes start large at the base and get smaller as you move towards the horizon. This gives the illusion of depth. Use a clean brush to remove color and create a more dramatic reflection of the sun. You can also add streaks of yellow here and there to different areas to give more reflection. Now mix more indigo blue with a bit of Payne's gray. Use this diluted mix to begin to add contrast to the water and form the water ripples. Start with dark long strokes at the bottom, forming little wave peaks, and dilute this mixture with more water and add some red to it to make it more purple and lighter. Continue adding streaks of waves, making sure the waves get smaller as you move up. Don't apply any of this blue-purple color to the very right side of the water near the horizon where the sun is reflecting. Also, you can use a clean wet brush to blend some of the sharp edges so they flow better if you wish. Use a clean wet brush to pick up color and create highlights in the water. Now using a more red, orange, and pink by mixing red and white mix, repeat the same process to create water ripples moving up towards the horizon. Wave strokes should get thinner and shorter as you move up to again create that illusion of depth that the horizon is further away. You can also use leftover colors of purples and a little bit of indigo blue and reds to help create a smooth gradient going from blue to red to orange to yellow as you move up to the horizon. Use some lighter diluted orange yellow to trace the horizon, but not where the sun is reflecting, keep that white, and also to create more water ripples and highlights. Use a bright yellow to create highlights right under where the sun is reflecting. You can also use this bright yellow throughout the water area to create random highlights. Making sure your brush is clean, use a yellow and white diluted mix to begin to shape some of the roundness of the sun in the sky. You can also use the same yellow to create even more highlights. You can even use some red mixed with white to create a light pink and add those to the highlights of the water. Use a clean brush to pick up color in different areas of the water to create contrast and highlights. Clean your brush in between creating highlights. Also add some darker highlights by mixing more purple. You can do that by mixing indigo blue and red and create some more ripples in the water as you move up towards the horizon. You can also enhance some of the ripples that are already there by making them darker. In the areas where you removed paint and are lighter, add some yellow to really make those highlights pop. Mix more indigo blue with Payne's gray to enhance some of the darker contrast with the water. You can also dilute this darker mixture by adding more water and use this to darken and create more contrast and highlights as you move up towards the horizon. When you're happy with the water, clean your palette and mix a concentrated mix of mostly white with a little bit of yellow, and use this with a fine point brush. I used a rigger brush to create streaks and little defined highlights throughout the water. This will just make it pop even more. Use more white streaks towards the reflection of the sun to give more of that illusion of reflection. Now let's switch back to concentrate on the sky. Create a dark orange red mix, and using a round brush, go over the band representing land at the horizon. The land should be above the water, and it should be taller at the left of the painting, sloping down and stopping before the setting sun. You can use a little bit of really diluted orange to delineate the horizon at the edges of the sun without painting the middle of the sun. You can also use this diluted orange to create more highlights in the water around the setting sun. Next, we're going to use some clean water and clean our brush and add some more color to the sky. So mix some of those original colors, yellows with whites and with a little bit of orange, and we're going to enhance some of the colors in the sky to make them brighter. Use a clean and slightly wet brush over areas that have harsh lines to smooth the background out and have that gradient flowing nicely. Alright, you've made it to the last step. We're going to start painting the silhouette of the surfer using a mix of dark indigo blue with some Payne's gray. Use one of the small round brushes for this step and concentrate on trying to carefully trace the silhouette of the surfer. If you get some dark blue onto the water, need not worry. Use a clean brush and very gently pick up some of that color to correct that mistake. Use a little bit of red into that mix you were using to create some highlights on the head and the arm on the left side. You can also use this mix to create the shape and some of the outline of the surfboard towards the left and right of the surfer. Keep in mind the shape and the alignment of the surfboard on the left and right side. If you need to, you can pick up some paint using a clean brush and basically start over. Let the surfer's silhouette dry a little bit and put another coat of that dark indigo blue with Payne's gray and some highlights of purple. Highlight the surfboard even more and create the shadow reflecting in the water on the left side of the surfboard and also the shadow reflecting down from the surfer onto the water. Use a diluted mix of this indigo blue purplish color and create more shadows in the water and use it to kind of highlight behind the surfer and below the surfer. And that's the last step. I hope you enjoyed this watercolor tutorial. If you want, please subscribe below and follow my channel for more tutorials. You can also follow me on Instagram at salty.soul.art. Thanks, bye!